2023-2024 budget. Let the record show that all board members are present, and Mr. Kazire joining remotely. Council Bluffs Community School District is holding this public hearing on the 2023-2024 budget. We'll hear a presentation, questions from board members, and then questions from the public. Dr. Murillo?
Thank you, Mr. LaForla. This evening, we will be, Mr. Wilson will be presenting on our public hearing on the 23-24 budget. Mr. Wilson, the floor is yours. We will be asking the board to vote on the certified budget during our resolutions.
Mr. Hamilton asked if I could enliven this a bit, so I'm going to have him present instead of me.
Nice.
That would really enliven it. No? Okay. Thank you, Dr. Murillo. Talking tonight about the certified budget that we're required to file every year with the county. Again, this annual certified budget is a compliance document that basically sets the tax levy and also the amount of state aid that we are going to receive in the year. And that's what we're going to talk about. The 23-24 budget, the state supplemental aid was set at 3%. However, the district will only realize 2.42%. And that's a little shy of about $1.6 million in what they call new money or unencumbered money. And the 2.42% is because we were on the budget guarantee last year, so they're taking some of that back, so we won't get all of that. ESSER funds will again assist us in offsetting the general fund expenditures, but this is the next year is the last year for it unless there's some congressional action on that, which I'm not anticipating happening. We are seeing some expenditure increases in the general fund, almost $2.1 million in new salaries and benefits related to the salary increases across the board. Our health insurance fund, our health insurance premiums that the district will pay on behalf will go up about $450,000. We're anticipating student transportation up about $156,000, which is a 3% increase on the contract. Utilities, we're budgeting a 5% increase. And then there's a variety of other expenditures. You know, I put in a placeholder 1% here, 2% there. Could be less than that, could be more than that. It's just a general offset. Whenever I was told in school, whenever you do budgets, slightly underestimate your revenues and slightly overstate your expenditures, and you should be in pretty good shape. So that's what we're looking at here. The forecasted general fund deficit for the 23-24 year, before we made some of the reductions that Dr. Murillo spoke about a couple of board meetings ago, was about $3 million. And that's essentially revenues minus expenditures. We had a deficit there of $3 million. There's a further erosion of spending authority besides the $3 million of another $1 million roughly. So we wanted to get close to about a $4 million reduction in expenditures. And the spending authority one is that if you add up all of the, if you look at the revenue that they count for spending authority and the revenue on our books, you had some adds and some subtracts, it's about $1 million. I actually came up with a form like we used to do for taxes that try to reconcile spending authority revenue with general fund revenue. And I'm within about $200,000, and I reached out to the Department of Management and I said, where am I off? And they said, we don't know. We can't figure it out either. So I said, that's a problem and we need to get this resolved, because I said, I think school districts around the state could really benefit by something a lot more simple. The previous discussions that Dr. Murillo pointed out in 23-24 is some staff reductions through attrition, moving some of the facility costs to the management fund through an insurance fund, through an insurance policy paid for out of the management fund, elimination of some SAM fees, the closure of Crescent, which the board approved last board meeting, and some vendor assessments and realignments that we could reduce our costs as well. The expenditures in the management fund, I want to talk a minute about that. We're expecting a 15 to 20% increase in property and insurance premiums, which is about $135,000 next year. That's what they call a hard market right now, with all of the natural disasters and derechos and hurricanes and tornadoes that have been around the country. Insurance carriers are increasing their premiums. We're looking at that early retirement incentive that the board approved. That'll be about $150,000 in cost. We're also looking at that premium for that insurance policy that we can move repairs and maintenance from technology and from the facilities department over to the management fund. That premium is going to be right around $400,000. The one good thing about this is that the fund has very strong cash in it right now, and so I think we have about $1.9 million to $2 million in there. So we're sitting in pretty good shape that we can absorb that in this year. I also want to talk briefly about the nutrition fund because there's some clouds on the horizon here. The USDA supply chain assistance funds, which were COVID-related, are scheduled to end at the end of the school year. And we will receive about $352,000 less funding next year than we are this year for that. On top of that, there's going to be a reduction in the federal reimbursement per meal of 45 cents. That was also COVID-related. That ends at June of 2023, and that'll further reduce about $495,000 of revenues in the nutrition fund. So between both of those together, that's about an $800,000 reduction in revenues that we will be experiencing. So Lisa Stewart and I have been talking about what can we do to reduce our costs. Unfortunately, as you probably have seen in your own pockets at the store, food prices are going up. I put an example there that the gloves that our nutrition people use have gone up 400% in the last 18 months. Things like that we are experiencing. Good piece of news is that the CEP program will remain in effect, as that is maximizing our meal reimbursement. We had to be recertified on April 1st. That's in progress right now. We do not anticipate any problems with that. This slide here shows in the red the funding that the district has received over the last 7 years. If you average that out, it's 1.16%. Yeehaw. Only in the 2021 year did the district exceed the state SSA amount, which is the green line. So you can see based on enrollment, it just depends on how much you're going to be funded for the year. But 1.16% average. And as Joe pointed out the last board meeting, the state is just not funding us adequately. This is a funding comparison for the next school year and the current school year regarding our regular net regular program increase and then the categoricals. So if you look in 23-24 and you compare it to 22-23, the net regular program line, the third line down, you see on the far right the $1,576,824, which I referenced on another slide. On the categoricals, we're going to receive about another almost $2 million in funding, but those must be specifically spent for those categoricals. And of the $1,995,000, about $1.5 million of that is for special education. So we're not really getting a heck of a lot more money in those other areas as well. The proposed levy is forecasted to decrease from about $16.25 per thousand to $16,158. Some of this is because of the rollback in property taxes by the state, and I've got 2 slides from now is going to show you how much that is. But the general fund is going to be reduced to about $311,000. So if you look at the property tax money we're getting this year compared to next year, it'll be down about $311,000. The PEPAL fund down about $52,000, and the debt service fund down about $14,700. We did increase the management fund levy to make up for that premium that I mentioned earlier. So we do have that built into there, and I'll show you that in a minute. The state will supplement the general fund dollars through state aid, but they won't do anything for the other funds. So that's the trick that we end up getting played on here. This shows the property tax levy for Council Bluffs since the 2014-15 year. You can see that this is the proposed levy for next year is the lowest it's been in a while. So people will say, well, you know, if you're going to show a loss, why would you lower your levy? Well, the problem is that we could double the levy and it still would not add anything to our spending authority. So the good news is that the levy has decreased 6.3% since the high of the 18-19 years. So we're going in the right direction, and that is still maintaining a 49-cent debt service levy. You may recall that when we passed the GO bond, we said to the taxpayers we would not have more than 49 cents in the debt service fund, and that we would transfer money from the SAVE fund over there to make up the difference. And we're keeping to that promise again this next year. This is the screen I wanted to show you here. This compares the levy and the rates and the dollars from the 23-24 year to the 22-23 year. So you can see the difference columns there in red. The second column from the right, we're down about $1.6 million in the general fund when you add everything in there together. The management fund levy, that's going to go up about $400,000. PEPAL is going to be down. The debt service is going to be down. You notice at the bottom too, the taxable valuation from the current year to next year is going to go down about $30 million. That's why you're seeing a drop in property taxes, because of that rollback. This slide is the district's net enrollment for open enrolled in and open enrolled out. This goes back to 2013. The top line is open enrolled out, the bottom line is open enrolled in, and the middle line is the difference. It is upticking about 28 students from 2022 to the current year. However, if you look at this, our net out is dropped by 111. It's 111 students lower than it was 10 years ago. So we're moving in the right direction of trying to attract more students to come to Council Bluffs schools in the last 10 years. This is our favorite graph I show every year. This goes from the 99-2000 year all the way up to next year. The blue lines there show what the state supplemental aid has been over those years, and the red line is the trend line showing a marked decrease of state funding over the years. It'd be nice to go back to 2.6 to 2.10 where we're getting 4%. That'd have been really nice. This is the certified enrollment. I think I showed this slide at a previous meeting, but we are down 434 students in the pandemic. However, if you look at all of this together in the last few years, it's only 402 students because we've had some up years and down years. Primarily, our drop is because of the pandemic. Students left, which is not uncommon as they've left all over the United States. Sometimes we know most of the time we know where the kids go. Sometimes we don't. They move out of state, move out of the country, whatever. The unspent authority, the balance that the state suggests is 7 to 12%. At 21-22 in June of last year, it was 8.65%. I project it's going to be about 6.5 to 7.2 at the end of this year, and it's projected to be about the same after we realize our planned spending reductions that Dr. Murillo outlined in a previous board meeting. Again, an increase in the property tax levy makes no difference in the spending authority. The solvency ratio is a ratio that indicates the ability for the district to maintain its current debts, and is used primarily for bond lenders. We want the range between about 5 and 10. We're at a very healthy 12. Now, normally in most businesses, we would say, boy, the district's in really good shape because our solvency ratio is excellent. But when you throw the spending authority in, which is only a metric for Iowa schools in the state of Iowa, that's a whole nother issue. And then we have to worry about that one more than we do this. So with that, I would like to answer any questions that you may have.
Any questions from board members? Mr. Kazire, did you have any questions?
I was going to say, we probably should just go straight to the public.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Wilson. Seeing no members from the public here to make a comment, I now close this public hearing, and I will open our regular board meeting, workshop meeting of the Council Bluffs Community School District Board of Education. Mr. Wilson, please call the roll.
Mr. Kazire. Present. Mr. Arthur.
Here.
Ms. Shudek.
Here.
Ms. Myers.
Here.
Mr. Peters.
Here.
Mr. Tripp.
Here.
Mr. LaFurla.
Present. Now please join me in a moment of silence, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Next, we have approval of the agenda. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second. Thank you. We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The agenda has been approved. Next, we have approval of our minutes of the work session and regular business meetings of March 28th, 2023. Is there a motion?
I can move to approve the minutes of the work session and the regular business meeting of March 28, 2023 as presented.
Thank you. You have a second?
Second.
And any discussion on the minutes? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And the minutes have been approved. Next is public participation. Okay, no members of the public are in attendance this evening, so we will move on to the superintendent's report. Dr. Murillo.
Thank you, Mr. LaFurla. At this time, I'd like to invite Ms. Colmine to the podium. This evening, Ms. Colmine's going to go over our 3 new pathways for our community to see. I know this is something that I touched upon at our Education's Everyone's Luncheon, but I did feel like it was real important, especially to share the new infograph and to see our new pathways. Following Ms. Colmine will be Dr. Matthews, who will go over our preschool student achievement. So, Ms. Colmine, the floor is yours.
Thank you, and good evening.
Good evening.
Thank you. I appreciate the opportunity to share with you our new Diploma Plus One pathways for next school year. And as Dr. Murillo mentioned, I know that you have seen these pathways. Dr. Murillo did present these at the Education is Everyone's Business Luncheon. I know that Diane and her team have also featured this in the Winter Achieve magazine, and also thank you, Tim, for sharing this in the Daily Nonpareil. This is a topic that is very near and dear to my heart and also the district's, because it is our vision. And so I appreciate the opportunity to continue to share this message with everybody in attendance, virtually or in person. I'd first like to start by sharing our district vision. It is every student graduates with a high school diploma and a second credential, making post-secondary education inescapable. We are extremely excited about our vision, as this is the promise that we make to our students, our families, and also our community. And our Diploma Plus One pathways and opportunities allow our vision to come alive every day. Goal 2 of our district strategic goal is to guarantee each graduate is future ready. You will see that this goal outlines the success metrics for our district in achieving our district vision, and also communicates to everyone what we are building together. Again, it's the promise we make to our students and their families, and when they entrust themselves to our district and our schools, this is the result that they can expect to receive. Strategic Goal 2 does have 3 different target areas. 2.1 is for last school year, and the goal was to have 60% of our students in the senior class of 2022 earn a high school diploma and second credential. I will share those results in the next slide. Target 2.2 is for this school year. We hope to have 80% of our seniors in the class of 2023 earn a high school diploma and second credential. And then target 2.3 is for next year, where we hope to have 100% of our students achieve that goal. And as mentioned, last school year, we did have 73% of our graduating seniors secure a high school diploma and a second credential. So we did exceed the goal of 60% last year. And looking at our enrollment and our pathways and opportunities right now, we are on track to meet this year's goal as well. So with that said, we know that Diploma Plus One pathways and opportunities are working for our students. We also know that the Diploma Plus One is an innovative strategy that creates stepping stones, which is visible on our new infographic on this slide. So you can see all those different little shapes. Those are stepping stones, and they represent the different on-ramps and off-ramps within our Diploma Plus One opportunities to ensure all of our students graduate not only with a high school diploma, but something extra. And that's something extra is in a variety of ways. It's college credit, it could be an associate's degree, a certificate or a diploma to enter the workforce directly. It may be a market value asset or another certificate that they can build their resume with. We're very proud that our students can stand out above their peers, and when they graduate from the Council Bluffs Community School District, they are ready to step out into a bright future. Within our Diploma Plus One opportunities, we have a variety of college-bound Diploma Plus One pathways. You can see on the slide up at the top is the blue, our Early College Academy. In the orange, we have our College Credit Acceleration. And in the burgundy, we have our Career and Academic Pathway. So we have a variety of college-bound pathways that we offer to our students every day. We also have a variety of career-ready opportunities that we offer our students. In the yellow is our TradeWorks Academy in our actual high schools. And then students do have the opportunity in years 3 and 4, if they would like to go out to TradeWorks at Iowa Western Community College at the top there in the green. And then, of course, in the burgundy, you saw this in the college-bound one, but it also sits in the career-ready, is our career and academic pathway. So this is the complete and new updated infographic that includes all of our pathways and opportunities. You can see that we have a very nice balance of both college-bound and career-ready pathways and opportunities. And we also find that all of our students have a nice balance in engaging in both of these. So it's really important that we do have this balance to meet our students' interest and also their request. Now I'd like to share our new Diploma Plus One pathways. We have some in the College Credit Acceleration, and we also have some in the career and academic pathways. The new and enhanced pathways for the 23-24 school year are in Aviation Science, STEM Concentrator, and Biomedical Science. Students in the Aviation Science pathway will earn their Federal Aviation Administration Part 107 credential by completing engineering coursework, drone certification training, and the aeronautical knowledge test. This credential demonstrates an understanding of the regulations, the operating requirements, and procedures for safely flying drones. As a result, students will be able to fly drones under the FAA's small UAS, which stands for the Unmanned Aircraft Systems. The STEM Concentrator is not new, but it is being highlighted and expanded due to the new Aviation Science and Biomedical Science pathways that offers our students more courses and choices to choose from in the area of STEM. The Biomedical Science pathway combines the fields of biology and medicine in order to focus on human health. Students will obtain readiness skills for the roles they want and the reality they will face in college and beyond. The pathway inspires deeper learning with real-world experiences using the same tools and software used by professionals. Students completing the Biomedical Science pathway will earn the Certified Nurse Aide Certificate or the Biomedical Concentrator Certification through Project Lead the Way coursework in concurrent enrollment health courses. The new pathways do require additional teacher certification in some of our courses, and we have met with and will continue to meet with high school principals and teachers teaching these courses to ensure that there is certification for them, and that training will also occur. And of course, we've been working with Dr. Matthews and her team in teaching and learning to make this happen. So now let's take a look at the actual pathways and their sequence. Typically, the Aviation Science and STEM Concentrator pathway begins in a student's first year of high school with Introduction to Engineering. Students then progress to Principles of Engineering during their second year. At the conclusion of their second year, students have the option to choose the Aviation Science pathway on the left and receive their drone certificate, or choose the STEM Concentrator pathway on the right and choose from a variety of STEM courses to meet or exceed the 24 college credit hours to receive that certificate. Again, this slide shows the typical progression for these pathways, but there is always flexibility that comes with this. That's why the on-ramps and off-ramps are so important. So for example, a student who may not start this in their freshman year, they just may double up and take a couple courses in 1 year, or a student who opts to go the aviation science route may decide after aerospace engineering that they want to skip over to the STEM Concentrator, or vice versa. And so we do have flexibility, and our counselors work with our students one-on-one every day to make that happen. Typically, the biomedical science pathway starts when a student is in their first year of high school with the course of Principles of Biomedical Sciences. Students then progress to anatomy and physiology during their second year. At the conclusion of their second year, students will have experienced an array of medical health science concepts where they will be able to make an informed decision and choose either the CNA certificate or the Nurse Aide certificate through Iowa Western Community College on the left side, or the pathway of the biomedical concentrator on the right side. Again, this slide shows the typical progression for these pathways, and flexibility will occur depending on students' needs. Our Diploma Plus One pathways and opportunities provide many benefits to our students. As with all of our pathways, the new pathways offer more choices that best fit our students' college and career goals. Also more opportunities in response to our students' interests and requests, and more ways for our students to succeed with stackable credentials and market value assets. As a side note, the additional pathways also provide our district more options to bridge the college and career opportunities with our middle schools as we begin to plan that process next school year and implement in the 24-25 school year. This slide shows our current enrollment in our Diploma Plus One pathways. On the left side, you can see in the blue, these are the enrollments of our pathways out at Iowa Western Community College. And then on the right in the burgundy, it is enrollment within our pathways and other opportunities. With our Diploma Plus One pathways and opportunity, there's a lot going on. And so I want to just take a moment and kind of describe what that enrollment means, because sometimes enrollment means the actual number of students and sometimes it doesn't. So for an example, if you take a look at the Iowa Western Community College side, for carpentry certificate, there's 18 enrollments. That does represent we have 18 students within that pathway. And that is pretty clean throughout the Iowa Western pathways. But when you take a look at the burgundy part, we do have 3 areas that students take an assessment in, and they are the ACT National Career Readiness Assessment. We also have our Seal of Biliteracy, where students take the STAMP assessment. And then we also have our Air Force JROTC, so those are assessments. Some of the other ones, if you take a look at information technology, they are pathways. And so for cybersecurity, you see that there were 5 students enrolled in semester 1. And this semester, there are 6 students enrolled. And that is because if you look at Network Administration Certificate, semester 1, there were 5 enrolled, and now there's only 4 second semester. That student decided to take an off-ramp and an on-ramp and move into a different pathway. And then the College Credit Acceleration, those are not actual number of students. Those are the number of courses enrolled in. So that one can be a little confusing because our students do take advantage of a lot of concurrent enrollment courses in our College Career Acceleration program, but they are also taking concurrent enrollment in all of those other areas that it's not captured there because they have an opportunity for multiple credentials. And so with that, that concludes my presentation, and I'm happy to take any questions.
I just have a question on the, so looking at like the Seal of Biliteracy, thinking, where they're showing 6, you're saying that's 6 courses, there's 6 students.
That is 6 students who are interested in taking the assessment, the same 6 students from semester 1 and then over into semester 2.
Is that 6 students taking AP Spanish or 6 students taking the exam?
They have to take so many years of Spanish
Right.
to be able to take the exam.
So, I think these are all wonderful. What's the minimum we need for class sizes for, like, just think about it, you have this aerospace one now. If there's 5 kids involved, is that, like, what's the justification for
So we do take
trying
a
to get
look-
everybody in
Right, we do
seats?
take a look at enrollment. In a perfect world, we would love to have 28 or 30 students sitting in our classrooms. If we don't have say we have 15 or say we have 6, we would go out and do some recruiting to try to make that happen.
And so do we have teachers then that are they teaching 5 or 6 kids in one class for that, and some they are? Okay.
And so in some of these, like adding these 3 new pathways, we will have to grow them. It's kind of like when we started TradeWorks. Remember, we started it with like 124, and now TradeWorks at the school level, we have almost 400. So it will take us some time to build the pathways out and grow them. But like the aviation one, that was a student that requested and wrote me an email and said, Dr. Miller, would you please look at this pathway? There's a lot of us interested in that. And I do think, but taking the number of, like going back to the syllabi literacy, they take so many courses as prereqs to take that assessment. And not every student wants to get that seal. That is something we're growing. The state started that about 2 years ago, I believe. So we're in like our third year, and we were taking it through AP, and now we're going through the stamp of the state. So we're shifting that. So there is some things that we're kind of, I think, growing, and I think we will see more, but all of the courses that are on the Iowa Western side, when you see small numbers, those are our students in classes with with them. So that's certainly okay. It's the ones when we start looking, but I do know that until we grow the base level of like our STEM and our engineering, we are going to be smaller at the top. But I want to make sure students can be completers.
And are we tracking then, like, how many students move on? You know, X number of students get our CNA. How many actually are in medical, and are they continuing on their education? Do we track that beyond?
Yes, we do. And this is one of the documents that we use to track. We also track at Power School as well. And so this is the one from semester 2, but we also had one from semester 1. I just didn't include the semester 1 because the numbers are the same on Iowa Western side, and I couldn't fit it on the slide. But another question you had mentioned, I don't think I quite understood at the beginning, but if you take a look at information technology, there is one teacher at TJ and one teacher at AL that are teaching all of those. So some of those students, like in cybersecurity certificate and desktop support, they're all sitting in one class, and she is managing those different certificates within
Alongside
one
class.
course. Yeah.
Yeah, I'd love to know how many kids continue on in careers then beyond this. How many lead to nursing or medical, or, I mean, just beyond the certificate pathway, yeah.
And it is really tough, even for universities, to track. I know that there's a database, what is it, clearinghouse? Yeah, we use, that we can go back, but if everyone doesn't go through that or provide an email, it's like colleges still trying to find people to see if you're working in that field. It is tough, once they get 2 years out from us, to know exactly a solid percent.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
And now Dr. Matthews will join us and present on our preschool student achievement, and a little, I guess, cherry on top will be to talk about our early learning center at the end. Okay, Dr. Matthews, as soon as John finishes there. John is trying to streamline us. Instead of each individual presenter bringing their laptop, John is putting everything together for us now, so that's very nice. Dr. Matthews?
Thank
Are
you,
these our
Dr.
kids?
Merle.
Kids.
That is a stock photo. There are other photos with our children in the
Sell
presentation.
that as stock photo.
I know. I'm sorry. Well, good evening, and thank you for the opportunity to share student achievement from our youngest learners. Before I dive into our gold assessment data, I wanted to provide a little bit of background on our current programming, support, and the actual assessment tool itself. What you see here is we do have 33 district classrooms. We offer a continuum of services from half-day to three-quarter day and full-day programming, everywhere from general education to inclusive settings, and then specialized programs to make sure we're meeting the needs of all learners. On top of that, we have 4 community partner classrooms located at the YMCA and St. Albert, and so they are able to provide that high quality preschool experience as well at those sites to make sure that we have universal access. We fund preschool in a variety of ways so that we can have as many full day opportunities as possible. As you know, the state funds 0.5 per pupil with 4-year-olds who are 4 on or before September 15th of the current school year. So to bridge the gap for that other half day, we use grants from Shared Visions. We also partner with West Central Community Action and have have Head Start slots at 3 of our sites, Bloomer, Edison, and Franklin. We get to serve 60 students through that partnership. In addition to that, we are very appreciative of continued support from the Iowa West Foundation to provide full-day programming, as well as our own Title I dollars and special education funds to help bridge that gap. Finally, for those who do not meet eligibility criteria but would still like the full day, we do have a small number of tuition-based spots as well. For eligibility, it is criterion-based placement, and students who are served in those free full-day programs have some kind of at-risk factors that are determined through a screening and application process, or are eligible for those grants based on some income or overall development. 95% of students are enrolled because of those factors, and then that small percentage is tuition-based as well. I'm very excited. Our enrollment numbers are back up to pre-pandemic and actually surpassing that. The 1920 school year, we certified enrollment at 499. We did see a drop after that during those uncertain times in 2020-21. This year we certified at 521, and as of last week, when I pulled the numbers again, we have 571 students in our preschool programs, 455 4-year-olds, 116 3-year-olds. We continue to add all year long. Just a little background on the Teaching Strategies Gold Assessment. We do assess ongoing. It's a observation-based assessment. We formally checkpoint 3 times. The fall checkpoint is in November, the winter checkpoint in February, and then the spring checkpoint in May. And we are looking at 38 evidence-based areas or objectives for learning and development in 6 different domains, and those 6 domains are listed on this slide. I did want to draw your attention to an example of what that looks like as you think about this tool. This is an example from the math domain, and it's under uses, number, concepts, and operations. The specific areas connects numerals with their quantities, and I just wanted to show how this progresses by age. The colors at the bottom are what we refer to as the widely held expectation age band. So when you hear me talking later about meeting or exceeding widely held expectations, I'm tying it back to those. So that red color is for the birth to 1-year-olds, the orange is 1 to 2-year-olds. So you can see there's not an expectation, a widely held expectation for those young learners to be connecting numerals with their quantities. But that yellow band is when they're 2 to 3, the green is when they're 3 to 4, and then the blue is that 4 to 5-year-old year of preschool. And it's just showing how those progress through recognizing and naming a few numerals, so being able to point out the number 1 or the number 3. A lot of times they associate those with their ages to start. And then we move on to being able to identify at least 5 numerals and now connect those to a number of objects. So they can recognize 5 dots and connect the numeral 5 to that. And then we progress to 10. And it's just showing how we're building upon that skill, and that is how we assess students' widely held expectations and kindergarten readiness. So the data I will share tonight is really going to be focusing on our fall to winter data for this current year, and then also over time. This first graph is showing the percent of students meeting or exceeding widely held expectations in the fall, which is the blue bars, and then in the winter, those gold bars. And remember, the fall isn't a baseline because it is all of the skills we observe through November, because it is observation-based and we have to collect that evidence to see the students and get to know them. What you can really see here is nice progression from fall to winter in the percentages of students meeting or exceeding widely held expectations in all areas, starting left to right: social emotional learning, physical, language, cognitive, literacy, and mathematics. We know high quality universal means we're hitting at least 80%, and then we have targeted and intensive supports for those who aren't. So we're definitely on track to meet or exceed that 80% universal in every area. Our goal for preschool internally is always 90% because we're already at the winter point, meeting or exceeding 80% in all areas but one. Now I'll just go through and show that historical data starting back from 2017-18 to our current school year in each of those domains. So this first one is social emotional. Again, percent of students meeting or exceeding widely held expectations. Starting blue is fall, winter is orange and spring is gold. The social emotional learning we know is so important at this age. It's where they're really learning to develop peer relationships, be comfortable with those adult relationships, solve those social problems through play, interact with one another. So we spend a lot of time focusing on this in preschool, and I was very pleased to see that we had a nice increase here from our fall to winter, and also seeing that even in those first few months, getting up to that 58% of students meeting or exceeding that widely held expectation is very critical. The physical area really looks at gross motor and fine motor skills. So we look at those traveling and balancing skills, being able to throw a ball, but also those fine motor skills that are going to be really important for writing. So being able to pinch a clothespin, being able to manipulate tongs, they embed those skills throughout, obviously using those writing tools and scissors, different opportunities for that. Again, we saw a really nice increase. We look year to year just to make sure that we're on track with our overall district programming. So it just helps us to see as a benchmark that we are on track to be where we should be at the end of each year, because we start over every year with a new group of students. For that language domain, again, we saw a nice 20% increase. We're pretty well on track with where we typically are at this point of the year. This assesses both their receptive and expressive skills, so their ability to take in information, listen and comprehend, and to speak and communicate their needs and wants. So very important skill that they're working on all the time again in preschool. The cognitive domain was another area where we saw great increases. This was tied for our greatest increase from fall to winter. So this is really a lot about being able to recall events, make connections, attend to tasks, being able to sit and listen for an appropriate amount of time, to demonstrate persistence and have that grit to follow through and finish tasks and make a plan. Again, great increases there. We should be right on track to be at or above that 90% by the end of the year. And then the all-important literacy skills, so book orientation, concepts of print, being able to write names, recognize names. Again, we see nice increases here, 24% increase from our fall to winter, pretty much on pace with where we've been, and great to see those results. And that brings us to math, which is our last area. That's the one where I showed the previous example. And on top of those numeracy skills, it also includes patterns and shapes, different spatial awareness concepts, all of those things that are tied to future math. And you don't think about math always with our young learners, but they're embedded in a lot of the activities that they do. This has always been one of our lower areas, but we are on pace with where we've been. We had some really intentional planning with our curriculum around this, and we've seen that pay off to get us to that 90, 91% the last couple of years, and we're right on pace with that as well. So at this time, I just wanted to connect our work in preschool to District Strategic Goal 1, which is about improving academic achievement. And we know all of these skills are helping students be ready for that next stage, for that kindergarten readiness. So while we don't administer math and use that metric to measure our success in preschool, we do measure kindergarten readiness, which has proven to have kindergarten students coming in ready to learn and to achieve on that MAP assessment in the fall. So I'll just share a little bit of our kindergarten readiness data with you. This graph is always one of my favorites to share, but I always just share a snippet with you first before the big picture because it's a little busy to see it all at one time. What you're going to see here is how our district compares to the state. All of the state data on this graph is in the blue bars, and our district data is in the gold bars. The first set here is social emotional learning, and what you'll see is in the fall, 48% of students in the state demonstrated kindergarten readiness in social emotional learning, and only 42% of our students in the district demonstrated that kindergarten readiness in the fall. And then we compare that to winter. In the state, 79% of students demonstrated that kindergarten readiness, and in the district, 85% did. So what is really important to notice here is that a smaller percentage of our students in the district are coming in with those kindergarten readiness skills, even at that first checkpoint. But by that winter checkpoint, a greater percentage of our students are. So we know that we are really closing that gap, even more than closing it, to meet those needs. And we are showing a greater percentage of our students demonstrating kindergarten readiness. And that holds true for all of the domains that we assess. You will see that consistent pattern where the students are coming in with a lower percent kindergarten ready in every domain except math. They were tied. But by winter, we have more than made up for that, really helping to close that gap for our students. And finally, this last graph shows that just in one other way. This is showing the purple bars are the percentage of increase from fall to winter in the state, and those blue dots are the percentage of increase in the district from fall to winter. So for example, in the district for the language domain, 39% more of our students were at kindergarten readiness in the winter, whereas in the state, only 27% more students were demonstrating that kindergarten readiness comparing fall to winter. So it's great to see our blue line well above, showing that distance between our students. The growth that they make from fall to winter is truly incredible. So with that, we know we already have great programming, but we're striving for continuous improvement all the time. This year, we are engaging in the Iowa Quality for Kids leveling, which is the quality rating system that the state is now using. That was rolled out in April. It's a building block system where there are 5 levels, and really you can start at any level and continue to improve on your programming each year. We are very proud as a district to be starting with level 3, and it really includes a lot of advanced training, professional development, quality around physical activity, nutrition. We know we're providing a lot of these things, so the teachers have been working tirelessly to complete the applications and the necessary trainings to demonstrate that we are at this high level of quality, and then next year they will be applying for that level 4. So I just want to publicly thank and recognize the work of those teams because it has been a big undertaking, but we're proud of the work that we do and we want that recognition, and they do get a little bit of a bonus for that too, which is nice that they'll be able to use in their classrooms. Another exciting initiative we've worked on this year is called Positive Solutions for Families, and this has been a true partnership with Green Hills AEA, and it is using workshop models developed with the Pyramids system for positive behaviors. And we've offered a series of monthly workshops. They're 7 2-hour sessions. We're piloting it with Rue and Roosevelt this year because we're able to use some of those shared visions dollars, but we're also working on a grant so we can expand that and offer it to all of our families enrolled in preschool at the Early Learning Center next year in that nice multi-purpose room. It directly aligns with our preschool curriculum on best practices, and it's really equipping families with that opportunity to connect with other families and learn how to help their children manage difficult behaviors, which then helps benefit the classroom as well. So it's been a great partnership. We've also had great support from the community and from business partners, and that's allowed us to provide childcare, resources, meals at this. So it's been very well received by our families, and I'm very proud of the work that's gone into that. The future of early childhood is looking bright in Council Bluffs Schools. So I just wanted to let you know we did start our enrollment process for 2023-24 with our district-wide 4-year-old screening last Monday. That was followed up by an appointment 3-year-old screening on Wednesday. We have 2 additional screening appointments scheduled for May, 3 in August, and then we'll continue to hold those monthly as we do now. We're so excited to have the capacity to serve approximately 700 birth through 5-year-old students next year. And as you all know, we're very excited to be preparing to open the Ann E. Nelson Early Learning Center in August. Preparation is going extremely well. We have 52 infant toddler applications started or completed, so we're still working through that process right now, but a lot of great interest in those slots, and those are either tuition-based or we are accepting child care assistance for those, so we're helping families with that application process as well to make sure we're meeting those needs. The interviewing and hiring process is well underway. We've had great support from our Human Resources Department to get excellent applicants and qualified candidates in and working through those. And then we're continuing our collaboration with Juniper Gardens and the Iowa Department of Education to make sure that this is truly a pilot and a model for others throughout the state. So I'll just show you a couple of photos if you haven't driven by the Early Learning Center lately. These are some exterior shots, just a side shot, and then this would be that indoor corridor area where a playground set will be. inside the classroom. I just put a rendering with this one so you could kind of picture, I can't always visualize it, but where the purple and then the framing are, those would be like the sink areas that you see, the children washing stations and adult. And then you can see some cubbies have gone in as well, so very excited to see that progress. And then finally, this is one of the gathering spaces. It's just shown from a different angle in the rendering versus the photo, but that's right outside the infant toddler room. So great place for families to gather, other service providers to be working with students out there on different skills. So very excited about that. And in closing, we're just really proud of the work that we're doing in preschool and excited for the future of early childhood programming in our community and the services that we're able to provide. With that, I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Daryl was thinking, I'm sorry. I asked Daryl today, because I met to go through a few more things with him and who's ODI, who's ordering our furnitures and every needs and all of that. And he thought probably toward the end of April, 1st of May, we'll have really good pathways to get in there and we won't be in the mud. And also, hopefully, we'll be on the back tail end of that. We can go into Canesville too. Great. So, getting close.
Yes.
Any questions from board members? That was very good information. Thank you. Anything else, Dr. Merle? Is that it?
Thank you.
Okay. We have a few resolutions. First is approval of the 2023-2024 certified budget. Is there a motion?
I'll move to approve the 2023-2024 certified budget with a levy rate of $16.158 per $1,000 of property valuation.
Second?
Thank you. I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Mr. Wilson, please call the roll.
Mr. Tripp,
Yes.
Mr. Peters,
Yes.
Ms. Myers,
Yes.
Ms. Shudek,
Yes.
Mr. Arthur,
Yes.
Mr. Kazire. Yes. Mr. LaFurla.
Yes. And the budget has been approved. Next, we have issuance of the 2023-2024 administrator contracts. Is there a motion?
Yeah, I can move the board approve a 3% increase in base wages for the administrator employee group for the 23-24 school year.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion or questions? Mr. Wilson, please call the roll.
Mr. Arthur,
Yes.
Mr. Peters.
Yes.
Mr. Tripp,
Yes.
Ms. Myers,
Yes.
Ms. Shudek,
Yes.
Mr. Kazire. Yes. Mr. LaFurla.
Yes. And finally, we have the standard employee 2023-2024 wage increase. Is there a motion?
I can move the board approves a 3% increase for the base wage of the standard employee group for the 2023-2024 school year.
Second.
Thank you. I have a motion and a second. Any discussion on this resolution? Mr. Wilson, please call the roll.
Ms. Shudek,
Yes.
Mr. Arthur.
Yes.
Mr. Kazire. Yes. Mr. Tripp,
Yes.
Mr. Peters,
Yes.
Ms. Myers,
Yes.
Mr. LaFurla.
Yes, motion carries. And that concludes our business. We are adjourned.